Anybody who's tried to negotiate the ULEZ system, either the online ULEZ charges, or indeed working out where ULEZ starts and ULEZ finishes, will have been negotiating a nightmare and wasting a lot of time. And so it's hardly surprising that a Dutch company that operates a number of lorry firms has applied for permission to launch a judicial review against the London Transport in the High Court, claiming that it's unlawfully been issuing fines to companies in the Netherlands. Transport in Noord BV claims that as much as £7.5 million in ULEZ and LEZ fines have been wrongly issued to Dutch companies. And this, of course, is going to overturn a lot of the ULEZ fines anyway. It's going to throw them into question, and it plays very much into the arms of people like Lawrence Fox and others who've been campaigning so vigorously against the ULEZ ideas. And real people are seriously inconvenienced by the ULEZ system, but it just seems so extraordinarily impulsive, knee-jerk approach to trying to rein back on emissions. That it starts at such and such a place, it finishes at such and such a place. And I remember going into London on the day when it began, and on that day there was a train strike as well. So you couldn't, for example, drive to the outskirts of London, get a tube, travel into the centre, and then go back to where your car was parked. You had no choice. You had to go in through the centre. You had to pay ULEZ. You had to do that job because you couldn't get a train down from the north because there were no trains as well. So there was no choice. If you had an obligation to be in the centre of London on that day, I think it was a Saturday, which I did, then you had no choice but to do it by car. And this is really the problem, that it hits people who have no choice, people whose work takes them into London, and they simply can't negotiate around it. And what I found at the time was the system was very clunky. I was quite happy to pay, but ensuring that I could pay and that I had paid, there was uncertainty all the way through it. In fact, I wrote letters to the TfL, and it took about 3 weeks before I got a reply back saying, yes, of course you're covered, you paid. But it wasn't clear that I had. And it wasn't also clear that I hadn't put myself in a position where I was going to be routinely paying for transport that I was never going to be taking or using, that I was never going to go again through that area. So it's a very odd system. It's very clunky. I'm not surprised it's getting into trouble internationally. And the number of fines that it's getting simply for delivering flowers, from the Netherlands. The trade on which our system really depends. We are destroying trade. We are destroying goodwill. For what? I don't think we're getting anything in return. Yet another instance of where is the Brexit bonus? Where are we getting? Penalty charge notices. Again, if there isn't sufficient publicity, if there isn't sufficient ease of being able to access the systems, then the systems collapse. And one would have thought that in an age of computers, the systems would be watertight, easy, thought through. But the people who seem to develop these computer systems, they don't seem to work out how to use them. They're so obsessed with security. In fact, security seems to be the first thing anybody thinks of. Along down Along down the list of computer systems is the practical explanation of what it's doing. And indeed, the English which is used, or the language which is used to explain what is happening and how you get what you want. The same thing is true, I'm afraid, of the Home Office. If anybody's tried to get a passport, it is a nightmare. An absolute nightmare, particularly if your passport has been stolen or lost. A nightmare. And in the end, it ends up with telephone calls. There's no way round it, and you are just wasting your time.